If you're currently in the market for an M3, then I would strongly encourage you to consider this i4 purely electric performance sedan from BMW. Because although this model weighs well over 1,000 pounds more than its gas-powered sibling, this model has instant torque. Hit it! Amazing! With 536 horsepower and 586 pound-feet of torque being powered by BMW's latest 5th generation eDrive technology, it's not surprising this all-new and first purely electric performance sedan from BMW's M division is amazing off the line. But what's even more amazing, or I should say impressive, is the price. For under $56,000 US, or essentially $59,000 Canadian, you can purchase an all-electric performance sedan from BMW, which offers better performance stats than its gas-powered sibling, the M3. Now, I should be more specific because this week I'm reviewing the i4 M50 xDrive, or essentially all-wheel drive version. And it is valued at about $10,000 to $15,000 more, depending on your market location, than the rear-wheel drive option. And when you factor in $14,000 plus more of options I have this week, the price reaches just shy of $73,000 before EV taxes, or taxes in general. But if you ask me if it's worth the value, my answer would be simple: yes. Of course, the i4 being an EV, range and charging times are always top of mind for consumers. And BMW prides themselves with being an industry leader when it comes to EV sustainability and technology. If you look down in the description, I'll provide a few fast facts pertaining to how BMW as a company is using less of the Earth's rare materials to build their batteries and vehicles as a whole. It's quite impressive. Now, to clarify again, this week I'm reviewing the i4 M50 xDrive with 19-inch wheels, and it's important to mention this because these 19-inch wheels have a range of 270 miles or 435 kilometers, whereas the 20-inch wheels have a range of 227 miles or 365 kilometers. That's a big difference. And when you're visiting your local BMW dealership, you should think about negotiating a second set of wheels and tires, especially tires, because your i4 is equipped with summer performance tires. And that combination of larger wheels and tires will not work well for you when temperatures cool. As for charging, there's 3 different levels available with your BMW i4, and these numbers I'm about to share with you is exactly what I experienced this past week. So level 1 is super slow. This is you using a traditional 3-prong outlet. This took me 53 hours to fill. And then there's level 2. And level 2 you could have installed at home by a professional, or level 2 you'll also find in most mall parking lots or grocery stores. This took me 9 hours to fill. Then there's DC fast charging. And DC fast charging, you'll only find those towers on the road. It took me 33 minutes to fill from 25% empty. And of course, these figures are based on my experience, and charging durations all depend on how drained your battery is, or in my case, batteries, because the i4 has 2. Now, braking regeneration. And braking regeneration essentially means when you lift your foot off the accelerator, your battery or batteries will recharge themselves slightly. And with the i4, you have one pedal driving. And what that means is when you put your foot on the brake, then put it into gear, shift your gear selector to the left, a B will pop up on your digital driver cluster, and that will let you know that now you're using braking regeneration, or essentially you're using one pedal driving, and you can come to a complete stop without using your brakes. Another few features which are affecting your driving range are your driving modes, and you have 3 with the i4. You have Eco Pro, you have Comfort, and you have Sport. You change all of them on the fly by using the buttons located just below your gear selector. And although Sport is a lot of fun and it sounds really cool. You're never going to conserve your battery or get more range when using it, but it's a lot of fun. Here's a quick fast fact for you. Remember the different driving modes I just mentioned? Well, they also come with unique acoustic sounds produced by Hollywood and Academy Award-winning composer Hans Zimmer, who's the man behind the sounds of The Lion King, Pirates of the Caribbean, Gladiator, just to name a few. And I think it's so cool that he worked in collaboration with BMW Group Creative Director of Sound, Renzo Vitali. Now, remember I mentioned I have over $14,000 worth of options. Well, one of the packages I have is BMW's Advanced Driver Assistance Package. It includes some impressive features like traffic jam assist, blind spot monitoring, driving assistant professional steering and lane control, evasion assist, cross traffic alert front and back, adaptive cruise control with stop and go lane change assist, lane keep assistant, and it comes equipped as standard with some of the best interior illustrated graphics I've ever seen. BMW describes the i4 as blending the functionality and space of a Grand Coupe. And although I prefer the extra space offered in a front trunk that the i4 does not have, what I prefer more is convenience. So it's not often that you have a hands-free power trunk on a performance sedan. And you do with the i4, and of course it's part of a package, but to activate it, you have to have the key fob in your hand, pocket, or purse. Aim for the middle, give it a kick, and it automatically opens for you. Now this is actually adjustable in height. Just go inside your infotainment system and it's super easy. Make sure you do that before you park underground. And if you want to know the comparisons between competitors with overall cargo capacity, look down in the description and I'll have it there for you. Another feature that I like is when manufacturers actually incorporate seats that fold in a 40-20-40 split. Because if you have an active family like I do, you can place longer items in the middle, or for longer road trips, you could just separate the kids a lot easier. Now you have extra space here on the side. You even have a little hook and a 12-volt port. And underneath your trunk floor, you're not going to find an extra spare tire, and this is to keep weight down. Of course, it's an EV, but underneath here, you will find your tire mobility kit. A Tesla Model 3 might offer more interior space than an i4, but you're definitely not going to get the same feeling or luxury in general, and I'm not a Tesla hater. I'm saying that from the experience of somebody that's had the opportunity to drive both and to be inside both. BMW does a really good interior in general. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you know I'm only 5'3", so I'm never going to complain about leg space and head space. That aside, if you have a taller family, space will get tight back here, but if you have a young family, they'll fit fine. And of course, if you don't have a family yet, well then space back here is going to be fine because nobody will be sitting back here unless you have some friends. If they are looking for storage, it is available behind both front seats, but be careful because they're meshy back pockets and you'll definitely lose smaller items. And then on the side, you have more storage than I anticipated. So the pockets are actually quite impressively big. And then when nobody's sitting on the back seat, you could take advantage of your two traditional cup and bottle holders on top of the center armrest. If you prefer a center armrest like I do, then look for this feature because it's not always offered inside BMWs. As for connectivity, pretty good back here where you also have your climate control panel. If you're looking for additional connectivity, you'll find it inside the front center console. Remember, if you like what you see, you have to look down in the description because I have so many added on features, but this whole interior is well done. And don't let the large screen intimidate you because it's so easy to use. So I'm going to start with the small sunroof, completely power operated, and then of course the front seats are power operated. They even offer heating and extra thigh support, which is really nice. I enjoy when I see see that feature. The steering wheel is also heated, and to turn it on, just use the button located right in the middle of the steering wheel. And I've already spoken about some of these features today, but on the left-hand side, this is where you'll find your adaptive cruise control settings and some of those advanced package settings that I spoke about. It's so well done and very aggressive. So if you don't like driver assistance, then you have to sit down with your BMW specialist and just deactivate those features. Then on the right hand side, this is where you'll find your voice commands, your Bluetooth. You can even customize the features found on your digital driver cluster. And then of course you have the buttons for your Harman Kardon audio sound system. I love this system. If you're familiar with my channel, you know it's one of my favorite. It sounds so good. But with the premium package, which I also have, I have the heads up display. If you don't like the heads up display because you think all the screens are too much for you, well then you can just as easily deactivate it. And speaking about this infotainment system and deactivating items, it is so easy to use. I'm in love with it. And if you want to minimize fingerprints, you could always use your dial, or it's also a touchpad as well. And it speaks to you when you're using navigation, so that's pretty cool. So if you're looking for a particular feature, there's probably an icon dedicated to it. So some of the things that I really, really love, besides the navigation, because it's really good and easy to use, you also have a driver recorder. And this allows you to do exactly what it says. It records you while you're driving. So in the unfortunate event you get into an accident, you could actually record what happened. And the quality is really, really good. So I love that feature. It just looks so good. And of course you have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay as standard. The interior lighting in here, especially at nighttime, looks so good. And then you have your climate control. This is a lot easier to use, I find, when you actually go into the icon. And of course it's also right here on the screen. So if you just want to lower your temperatures or increase your temperatures, you can do that right here. But I actually just prefer clicking on the icon, and I find that a lot easier too. But like I said, like, it's so amazing. There's an icon for everything. Wi-Fi, hotspotting, you have like your live vehicles. So remember I mentioned previously that the graphics look so good when you're using your reverse camera or your 360-degree view. Like, it just looks so good. And if you want to activate your camera right away, you can even use the button located beside the gear selector. But a few more features before I hit the road. The storage, again, better than I anticipated. Like, even your center console is really, really good. And if you prefer, like I do, mobile charging, wireless mobile charging, well, you have that too, but this is additional add-on right there. And then of course I spoke about your driving modes. Just down here you can change it on the fly. And remember, I even spoke about that one pedal driving. You could even activate that feature on the fly too. You don't have to put your foot on the brake and, you know, put it into gear and then move it over to the left. You can do all that on the fly too. Now that said, let's hit the road, because the best feature is driving your i4. And like I just said, the best feature is actually driving this baby. And that said, Sport Boost activated, let's go. It's awesome. And if you didn't hear that sound, then I'm sorry, then you can't hear it, because it does sound so cool. And of course, if you don't like it, just, you know, deactivate it. Not a big deal. But back to this driving, because it's so impressive. So usually when you drive a vehicle that is an EV with such a heavy battery, as soon as you mash that accelerator, you can feel the unbalance of it. But not with the i4. I mean, it's so balanced. Like, I'm going around a bend, there's no moving around. It's solid, right? And I think what helps too is the standard air suspension that you receive in the i4. But in general, I mean, BMW is just known for performance driving. So I shouldn't be surprised that this vehicle is so well balanced. But I've been in a lot of EVs that are just all over the place, but not this. So the most impressive feature is driving. And Sport, FYI, you have a couple different versions of Sport too, so you can play around with that feature, which is nice too. But what I've been doing is just keeping it in comfort mode and just letting it do its job, right? So it's fantastic. But I want to speak about your driving assistant technology, because seriously, if you don't like that stuff, then you have to sit down with your BMW specialist and just deactivate it. Because if you watch, I'm going to try to switch lanes without putting on my turning signal. Make sure nobody's there, right? And look, it's automatically steering for me, right? I'm not doing anything, right? It's semi-autonomous, so this system's really, really good. But if I want to switch lanes while I'm not actually using my semi-autonomous mode, use your turning signal, switch lanes, and it switches no problem, right? Again, if you don't like all that driver assisted technology, just deactivate it, but it's really good. And the same thing with the one pedal driving, very aggressive, you have to get used to it. And like I mentioned, you don't have to, put it, use the brake and then put it into gear and move it to the left. You don't have to do that. You can do it all on the fly too, right? So just tap it over to the left. Now I'm doing one pedal driving and it will reduce its speed without me using the brake, right? So that's awesome. So I like that a lot. And again, it helps to recharge your battery slightly. But overall comfort, fantastic. Like the sport seats that come standard in this are really comfortable. They're not overly snug, and I do appreciate the extra thigh support. And remember, if you have a younger family or you don't have a family yet, then rear seat space is good. If you have a taller family, it's going to be tight back there. But I always recommend going out for a test drive. Test drives are complimentary. Bring your friends, family with you, and they can offer an opinion too. But the only opinion that is going to matter is yours and driving this baby, because it's so good. So guys, look down in the description. I try to make your shopping experience easier, and I provide you with so much information. But for now, I'm Juliana, your automotive woman. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out to Tuesday or Feature Car Friday. Thanks for watching, guys.